I will get us started. Becky, Lily, anything in particular else you want to say?
I mean, no, you gave it a good setup. Don't put me on mute. How about that?
I can't do it from
Becky,
my iPad.
If you want to communicate with us, use your telephone, not your keyboard. Click, clack, click,
I thought I was on mute.
Here we are, and welcome to another edition of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. This is going to be a Stranger Things extravaganza. We are excited to talk about the show. It's actually one of the first shows we talked about when we kicked off the Friday Night Movie Podcast, so I always feel warm in my heart.
Sorry to interrupt you, but don't you mean like a semi-extravaganza? Like, we're not doing the whole season.
You're right, it's a semi.
So, like take it down a notch.
All right. So we're gonna do probably like the first half or so. There's 4 or 5 episodes.
I only saw the first 4, so
okay. So we're gonna do 4. We're only gonna do 4, but that's fine. That's fine. That's part of the fun.
You can hint at other things. I'm pretty good at figuring out the plot.
yeah, I feel like with this show, the spoilers are not.
We're already off the rails. Shy. I'm sorry.
Becky and Lily are here. How are you guys? Before we get to our awesome guest,
I have had a really interesting revelation. I'm excited to share. I've been saving it, which is that my in-laws are in town and they are watching the final season of Game of Thrones because they hadn't seen it yet. So they're watching it while they visit. Like every night, they watch an episode. And whereas when we were watching it, it was the most exciting thing imaginable. Not only do I not care, I so don't want to rewatch episodes that I would rather go to bed and just go to sleep and do nothing than sit and rewatch episodes. So fascinating.
Huh.
I didn't expect that.
But I would love to watch in-laws. I would love to watch TV with your particular in-laws because they're just so.
Do they put Russian subtitles on? Her in-laws are Russian.
I don't know. I'm not watching the show with them. I'll have to scope it out tonight and get back to you.
Imagine having to read Russian subtitles. Oh my God!
No, but my favorite is that in Stranger Things, because there's all that Russian, I keep shouting at them from the other room, going, "Are those real Russians? Can you hear what they're saying? Do the translation for me. Tell me what they're saying.
Be Russian. Dance, monkey dance."
They do it, and they tell me what they're saying.
Becky, it dropped connection for a second. What show are you watching with your in-laws? Are they watching? Is it Stranger Things?
No, they're watching Game of Thrones, and I'm watching Stranger Things. So I have no interest in rewatching any Game of Thrones with them. And then
does Game of Thrones remind them of life
interpreters?
No, they actually find this season very boring.
It's not.
They're not getting good.
Not enough.
Russians.
Not enough village burning. Okay. Yeah. Well, all right. You guys are doing okay, which is wonderful. I am going to welcome our guest. So our guest is. I love when we have guests. I also am always floored when we have a guest that I am already a fan of their art, and we are able to get them to come on. We've got an amazing musician and artist. His name is Ryan Walker. Ryan, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So I'll give a little bit my backstory on how I know Ryan. Ryan is in a band.
Way to make this about you.
Ryan is in a band called the Beanstalk Library. Everybody should stop what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
Go check out their music. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but I absolutely love it. There's a whole bunch of awesome songs on YouTube if you're not really ready to commit and buy all the music like I did already. But I saw his band open for Justin Jones, our dear friend and neighbor, an amazing musician in his own right, and I immediately loved them. In fact, there were songs that they played in their set a year ago at the Hamilton that I went up and I said, "Oh, which album are these on?" And they hadn't even been released yet. So that's a good sign when you like a band, when you walk away from the set remembering the music that they've played. And then ran into Ryan again recently, and he's a Stranger Things fan and a movie fan, and now welcome to the Friday Night Movie family.
Oh, appreciate it. Great to be here.
So Ryan, before we talk movies and things like that, let's talk music, okay? Because we are music nerds in our family as well, but it just doesn't get showcased enough on the podcast. Mm-hmm. Lily and Becky, you have listened to Ryan's music, right? Because I sent it to you.
Correct.
And do you want to like? Do you have any questions to start off with or reactions for him right away? Because I always enjoy your reactions to things. I have my thoughts. They've been honed.
Well, I feel like, gosh, I'm really bad with names of things. Hold on, I'm going to pull up the name of the song. I feel like, not the Big Hooks one. Just a sec.
Feeling My Way in the Dark?
Is that the title? Just a second. The video that you sent, Shy.
Feeling My Way in the Dark.
Yeah. Okay, that song is, I feel like, okay, I'm not a musician, but I feel like that song is, first of all, it's fantastic. And it's not like your typical, like, breakdown. I just feel like it kind of is a bit more complicated than a normal pop song when I'm listening to it.
The structure, so as the musician of the group, the structure fakes me out. I listen to it and I'm like, oh, it's going to go to the chorus. No, there's another part.
Exactly. And I thought that was just so cool because it still sounds poppy and like fun to listen to. It's not, no offense, it's not pretentious. I don't know if that's what you're going for. It's not pretentious, but yet not like, it's not basic. And so I thought it was super fun to listen to. But then again, the song Big Dumb Hooks reminds me of, and again, this is not a bad thing, this is a great thing, of like a 90s, I have this 90s playlist of like rock music with like 182 songs, and then rando like 90s songs that were in a movie that like that one hit wonders, you know, from movies, and it just has that 90s sound.
But in like the best way, in like fun, in like the way that like, oh yeah, like rock music used to just be like really fun. Like it didn't, you know?
And then I'm like, wow, because those two songs I feel like are very different, but very cool that it comes from the same band. So I don't know, like maybe your inspiration or how you end up writing one song like, you know, Big Dumb Hooks, which is just like super fun. I feel like it may be more simple, and then the other's one that's not.
Sure. The 90s thing I think is just probably my age. Like that's when that's when I was a teenager and listening to a lot of music and stuff. So that's definitely a big influence. You know, Feeling My Way in the Dark is a little bit older song than Big Dumb Hooks, but yeah, I think first of all, I'm glad you enjoying the music. That's awesome. That means a lot. I think that what you said was really kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of I love pop music, I love hooks, but I love kind of thinking of ways to make songs, you know, inject a little bit of some unexpected elements in terms of the structure of the songs and some of the sounds. I love Wilco. You know,
me too. Shy does not. I'm throwing her under the bus, Shy.
Really loves
That's okay. That's okay, Shy.
Wilco is
allowed to.
So there's like a few things in the world that I recognize are critically acclaimed and are objectively amazing that I do not like. Wilco is absolutely one of those things. Like I recognize there is no question about Jeff Tweedy's genius and all that stuff, but like I think all of the
listening to Summer Teeth on the way over here.
This will probably feel awkward for you, but I like every single song by Beanstalk Library more than every single song I've ever heard by Wilco.
Well, that is awesome. That means a lot. That's huge. That's huge.
And even though there's like a relationship between the two, like it's and there are so many bands that I love that are influenced by Wilco or related to Wilco. Like and then I like all of them more than Wilco. You are included in that.
Well, that's cool. I appreciate that.
I like you both the same. I will not say what I say.
That's cool too. Yeah, no, I think one of the things that appeals to me about them is just the sort of traditional approach to song craft and the traditional songwriting elements, and that mixed with a lot of more experimental, interesting, you know, kind of like we said, songs going in unexpected places. You know, I just I love Radiohead, but I really love like earlier Radiohead. Probably more than newer stuff in terms of the records.
I saw them in concert recently. There was some amazing stuff, right? Like Paranoid Android live
They're amazing live. They're better live now than they were, I think, back in the day. But
there's a lot of bleep bloop noises.
Yep.
And the audience does not want you to talk. Like they want you. It's like you're at a library. But early Radiohead is amazing. But I agree with you in the sense that I saw Radiohead in the '90s and I thought they were dicks. And then I saw them at this show where I knew 10% of the music, but I thought they were such a better live band.
They are. But I just I like a lot of the new stuff too. But I think what really kind of gets me is that balance of familiarity, traditional songwriting idioms with, but with some elements that are less expected or more experimental, I guess. So that kind of stuff I really respond to, and it's something I think we try to do a lot with our music.
I heard some Big Star, some REM in there. Are those?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah. I would love to
for
hear,
sure.
I would love to hear you guys. Yeah, I mean, I'm very psyched to see you guys again, having immersed myself in so much of the music. So there's a bunch of other awesome songs. I want to ask you about Mushroom Clouds, because Mushroom Clouds to me, it's almost operatic, right? Like it feels like there's a lot of dynamics and it's epic. To me, that's an epic song.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go into the studio? How do you get something to have that epic feel? It's not just telling a story like lyrically and musically, but it's going up and down. It's getting bigger and smaller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That song's funny because actually it was a little bit inspired by, that song of Justin's Racine?
Yeah.
It was a little bit inspired by that. In fact, I think one of the sections that we had kind of written, we felt almost sounded too much like that song, and so we, when it goes into the second half of the song, we kind of changed the riff around a little bit to make it a little bit sound a little less like we were just ripping that off. Mm-hmm. But most of the songs like that you hear on our, wherever you listen to our music, have been written and performed live for a while before they get recorded in the studio. So, it wasn't like we sat around in the studio and for a long time and thought about that song. It was kind of ready to go when it was time to record, because it had kind of had a chance to breathe live, and we'd worked on it a lot, in order to play it live. So, we have an engineer that we love working with that we always wanted to find that George Martin kind of guy, and it's just a analogy. It's not, I'm not, but you know what I mean? Like that person who gets what we're trying to do in the studio and helps us.
That fifth Beatle kind of guy.
Yes, exactly. So he's kind of like this guy named Eamon. We used to record with him in a place in Shirlington, not too far from you. And now he's out in Leesburg area, but yeah, we record with him, and he's like a band member in the studio. We feel like he gets what we're doing and kind of knows how to help us translate it into a recording. And you were asking about Mushroom Clouds. We probably recorded that. It's been a little while, but we probably recorded that like almost as if it was like two separate songs, and then kind of smushed them together. Because it's really two distinct kind of sections.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's a cool behind the scenes kind of song exploder explanation there.
I think that's what happened. It was a while ago.
I have another quick question. So you're the frontman in one band,
mm-hmm.
and you play piano, keyboard,
mm-hmm.
in another band,
mm-hmm.
Justin's band, but in another band. Is it ever weird, annoying, a relief, pick your words, to switch back and forth between frontman and like somebody who's not the frontman?
Sure, that's a great question.
Who's your favorite frontman? Go.
In like rock history?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not gonna make you choose between your friends. Don't worry.
Are you your
Justin
favorite
or you?
Justin?
Well, I'm in like 4 or 5 bands right now. I play with like other people besides Justin. Yeah, so
Right.
And I love the opportunity to exercise those different muscles. I find it more relaxing to not be the front man. Like it's less.
Sure. Yeah. That
I
makes sense.
feel less responsibility on my shoulders for whatever we're doing. I love getting to kind of go back and forth, and I love doing something where I'm, kind of I'm the sort of the front person. And then I just played with Justin last night at this venue, the Hamilton in DC, and that was really fun to just kind of be over there playing keys and kind of being able to not have all the responsibility of the thing working like squarely on my shoulders. So I love having all those opportunities. I learn a lot about each thing. Like I'm able to kind of take things I learn and skills I develop and go back and forth, and I find that to be a very fulfilling and rewarding kind of way to approach things. It's also kind of necessary to just sort of have a lot of eggs in different baskets, because I'm a full-time professional musician, so it's helpful to have just different things going on from that standpoint. Favorite frontman in rock history, I gotta say, one thing that comes to mind is and I'm not, I like Queen. They're not like my favorite band of all time or anything. Like I'm not a huge fan, but I like them. But Freddie Mercury is an amazing frontman.
Like the quintessential frontman.
I mean, like, I don't know if you've ever watched the actual Live Aid thing. I've got that on DVD. It's
and it's
unbelievable.
And
yeah, I mean, the way he comes out on that stadium and has that stadium full of people like in the palm of his hand is unreal to me. Like when I see bands you play a lot of times, I never like saw them or anything, but in person. But I feel like I'm watching a magic show where I know how they're doing everything. And so my enjoyment of it is kind of just the appreciation of how they're doing the tricks. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But like I know the tricks, and so sometimes when I see a band like like when I see like Eddie Vedder or or Freddie Mercury in that particular clip, the Live Aid, I still feel like I had that sense of being a kid and being kind of like, I don't know how he's doing this. Like I'm actually getting like sucked into it, So those, I think Shai, I think you and I both went to the same Stones concert on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first time seeing them ever. It was super bucket list for me. That's obviously, Mick Jagger is obviously a.
You know how I know Mick Jagger is also one of the defining guys? I mean, unlike Freddie Mercury, we've had a back 9 of his career, right? Like we've had an extra 30 years of his career.
Yes.
But we brought my kids, and they had not seen, of all the bands we listened to, we haven't listened to the Stones a lot. Mm-hmm. And they were like mesmerized by him. And we were pretty far back, and they understood that was a rock star right there.
I couldn't believe the energy that those 75-year-old guys were putting out. I mean, running around catwalks and like they weren't just like standing there playing. I mean, it was like a rock show.
Right. It's not like watching James Taylor, who's amazing, but the guy's like strumming a guitar, chilling with Paul Simon.
Yeah, and I've seen
Jagger's like doing it, rock and roll acrobatics.
Yeah, and I've seen McCartney. It was amazing. It was everything I thought it would be. But he's sitting behind a piano a lot, and that's great. But,
I recently saw Paul Simon. There were a few weird sidebars that happened during that concert. where you just kind of like chatted for a while about like things no one quite understood.
Like an old man.
Yeah, it was like a little rambly. It was a lovely show, but
I could jam on music all day. But before, as we move into our Stranger Things conversation, Ryan, I know you got an upcoming show on July 31st. I will be there.
Awesome.
But do you have upcoming music? Do you have upcoming shows? Anything you want to plug? Because this will drop next Friday from the Sunday that we're taping this.
Yeah, well, I think one of the songs you were saying you really liked that we hadn't recorded yet, I think we have recorded now. So we have, that's the next big show is we're playing it on July 31st at Evening Star Cafe in Alexandria. It's a really nice lounge. It's free to get into, so there's no cover there or whatever, anything like that. So, and we're gonna have some discs that we made for our last show. We still have some left, so it's got some new stuff on it. And we're not gonna be putting those songs online just yet. So the only way to get those songs is to get a hold of this. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, so there'll be one with your name on it on the 31st, Shai.
Yes.
And there's we made 100 of them. We burned them. We kind of put a stamp on some. We kind of handcrafted them, super old school. It was really kind of fun to do. I think you've met Brian, the guitar player in my band. We kind of worked on it together, and he's like, yeah, normally, man, I hate arts and crafts, but this is really fun, And I was like, yeah, I know, it's fun. But everything else is online, thebeanstalklibrary.com. We're on all the social media things. I think they're all linked to from our website. The Beanstalk Library and Instagram. Twitter's Beanstalk LIB, Facebook, etc. We're on everything. So whatever floats your boat.
Awesome.
Social media wise.
All right, Stranger Things. We're on our third season. We're on, let's say we're up to episode 4, though I know Ryan and I are further down the show, but let's keep our brains in.
So as a recap, should I give you an end point of where episode 4 ends? So there's no...
Yeah. At this point, if you're listening to this program, as usual, we're terrible about announcing spoilers. Okay. There will be spoilers in Stranger Things all the way to
Stop listening. Just stop listening now if you haven't watched at least through episode 4, likely... they'll ruin something for me. So just skip to the next episode of the podcast.
All right, yes. Okay. Becky, line us up.
Episode 4 ends with, we have each of our main threads have figured out a big plot development. So we have the Max, L, Will, that gang, Will, Mike, Lucas, have figured out that the spider monster with whatever they call him, is back.
The Mind Flayer.
The Mind Flayer. The Mind Flayer is back.
Or Slayer?
Flayer, like it slices.
He flays your mind, flay.
No.
Whatever. It's the thing.
I understood.
So Mind Flayers. So they believe the Mind Flayer never left the world, is still there, and is inhabiting Billy's body. Now they believe it's just this one Mind Flayer is inhabiting just Billy's body, and they do and they lock Billy in a sauna to try and cull him out, and it ends in a kind of a pretty big fight scene between the kids and Billy where Elle almost dies, and then Mike saves her and stuff, and then and then Billy runs away. So it ends with that. So that's where we've ended off. But also at this point, Nancy and Jonathan have kind of broken up, but she's gonna keep.
Yeah. She's gonna they get fired, and Nancy realizes that the old lady's infected.
Yeah, the old lady's infected with something.
The old lady eating garbage.
Yeah.
Fertilizer, right?
Yeah.
Hopper and Joyce realize that something they realize that something big is going on in the town, some sort of big corruption thing that has to do with a giant magnet. I still don't quite understand that, I'm not gonna lie. And they've basically tortured the mayor into giving them information.
And it's the mall.
It's the mall.
With the elevator, the room that all those kids sneak into, Dustin, Robin, Erica, Steve, is not a room, it's an elevator, and it drops down. That's the last scene.
Uncovering whatever the Russian thread is.
Which is another thread, which is a whole new thread of new characters. I mean, it's Dustin and Steve, but it's they have their own little X-Men.
Yeah, they have their own,
now.
and we're gonna come back to this when I'm setting up now the 4 threads later with your very obnoxious question of why is Nancy in the show? What does she do? She's a thread because she's an important.
No, but Nancy's.
I don't care.
We'll come back.
Okay, there's going to be a bit of a battle royale in this, if you can't already tell.
Okay.
I'm amped up. Okay, all right. So those are things, and then actually the last shot of the episode is that Billy and the other lifeguard Heather reveal that they have an army of infected people.
which was very cool. Okay. How do we feel though about where we start? Like how do we feel about where we are with the characters at this? I mean, it can be at this point in the show or where we start off. You know, some of the things we've got here. We got Steve is now slinging ice cream in a sailor suit. He's fallen from grace.
That was the best.
I love him. More and more every day.
They really walked ass backwards into Steve being the best character on the show.
And he was like a senior in high school on season 1, right? Yeah. So like he's a couple years out of school now, I think. I was trying to figure out that chronology because
no, I think he's like meant to have repeated grade 12.
Oh, you think so? Okay, because he says something later in the season. He says something later in the season that is not a big spoiler deal, but it was just something about like that he dated Nancy when he was a senior.
Oh yeah. Oh, so
that's
2 years out of school.
At least a couple of years ago, story time, right? So.
But he also made a whole thing about what he was supposed to like. He applied for Purdue as if he was applying pre-summer.
Yeah, but he's like 20 or something.
Might be a continuity.
Be, right?
He's got to be like 19. Yeah,
he's 20. Yeah, okay. All
There's a year between seasons 1 and 2. A full year passes, and then between seasons 2 and 3, it's maybe about like 8 or 9 months.
He's not even in the friend group with Nancy anymore. His friend group is Dustin.
But that was established last season. That's what was amazing.
When Robin at the ice cream store is like, your kids are here.
Yeah, and Robin is a new character. Okay, so we got Robin, we got a new character. So for me, when Mike and Elle are kissing and they're together, like that makes my heart sink. I can't handle them breaking up. Like
you're shipping them hard.
Fight in the episode. After everything they've been through, after Mike's stuck by her, like I can't handle them. I get anxious when they're arguing.
You know, you know how I feel about star-crossed lovers. I don't care.
I feel like these two are meant to be forever and always. They are like connected on a spiritual level. Mm-hmm. Like at the end of episode 4, when she like collapses and he's holding her, I was like, see, you guys are meant to be together.
Nah, I'm like, I ship hard, guys.
Like if they
I'm the one that
together,
goes all in.
I'm gonna have a crisis if they don't.
What about you, Ryan? What about you? How do you feel about the relationship?
When you said it made your heart sink, is that a good thing?
No, sing.
Like, okay, gotcha.
It's like that moment when Whitney Houston says, "And I will always love you," you know, in the song when the drum hits. That's how I feel when they're together.
Yeah, you know, I'm older now, and I have some perspective on relationships to some degree, and I would just kind of tell Mike, like, hey man, like, you know,
she's gonna ruin you.
You got a lot of years ahead of you to like meet women and like, you know. However, in the context of the show, yes, it does. I do like them together. I think you know they're gonna learn from each other, and you know they'll look back on this, you know, fondly, like anyone hopefully does with their, you know, sort of teenage.
I will say what I really appreciated about the show is that if they're meant to be together, and that's really sweet, and sure, they're great, but I do appreciate that their little breakup, she is not due to another guy, like 90210 style, or probably Riverdale style. It's because she's hanging out with a girlfriend and like discovering girlfriendship.
I do appreciate
and that I thought was really well done.
I love that dynamic. Yeah. I love the dynamic of. I love Mike's journey of like Mike's learning like that women are not just, you know, girls are not just like he doesn't own her, you know, and he kind of has that journey of kind of learning how to relate to her better. I think all that is really interesting.
And when one of the best scenes of the show so far is when she gets a small window into what 3 13-year-old dudes are like hanging out.
Yes.
She's just horrified.
Yes.
Oh my God, when Lucas farts, that was like one of the best scenes I've ever seen, because they might as well have taken a shot out of me or any of my friends, like
or any 13-year-old boys. Yeah.
Well, and I'm in a bunch of rock bands, and like 40-year-old boys are like that too. I mean, all my bands have women in them, and they could probably all tell you similar stories.
So Elle, so how do we feel about Elle? She's like using her powers right and left. Like every time she gets that bloody nose, I'm like, don't these people know the rules of using powers? When you get a bloody nose from your powers, you're eventually going to get like a brain tumor and die. Like I'm worried for Elle every time she uses her powers.
I don't feel like so.
I mean, she put away that beast and like closed the gate. And this is sort of like a what are the rules things. And kind of it brings me back to what you said, Shai, that time about Captain Marvel and Endgame when we had that great conversation with Mike Roberts about it. That like you showed me in another movie that Captain Marvel is like the strongest human being ever. Now she's in Avengers. She can't not be the strongest. So I'm like, they've established that Elle can put away this massive demon, close an entire gate to another universe, and be okay. So now she sort of like can't not throw Billy through a wall or go visit some 13-year-old boys in her mind and like have problems. Well, you know what I mean? She just gets a bloody nose.
What I think we're learning is that, you know, she lives under such strict rules. Hopper has her under such strict rules. And the point for me of having her use her powers in these little ways of her, like, having a bit of fun and mischief and, like, this is her way of being a kid. I don't see it as, like, an abuse of the powers. What will happen to her? I think it's, like, Max's way of relating to her and being like, come on, like, let's use this to our advantage. Let's have fun.
Sneaking out, let's sneak into other people's minds.
Yeah.
I mean, and I will say, and this is something I really liked about this, there's a lot of things in the show that could be like wastes of time that are not wastes of time because that served the story. Them screwing around is how she ends up in Billy's mind, which puts her face to face with the mind flayer, which is awesome.
To like lead her to having like dire consequences for using her powers. It might, like you might be right, Shai, but I saw it as just like, okay, it's moving the story along.
All right. Who are people's MVP? So, Mike, an MVP. Mike. Mike Roberts is our friend.
That's right.
You said Mike Roberts. Ryan.
That's right.
An MVP for our show is the most valuable performer or performance or player. It can be the character or the actor. You know, and we're gonna go down MVP, LVP, and then I added a new category this time, which is MIP, which is most improved character / performer.
That's a great category.
So, MVP, LVP, MIP. Who wants to go first?
I already wrote mine down, so I'm going first.
I'm having a hard time with this one.
MVP is for sure in the first 4 episodes, Robin. Because I'm obsessed with her. She looks like Ethan Hawke, but sounds like Uma Thurman. I cannot deal. She's their daughter. I am obsessed with her.
I'm obsessed with her. I agree.
And I think her character is fantastic.
Just the sound of her voice. I want her to read me stories.
Like, I want her to read me stories. Her voice relaxes me tremendously. Plus, I think she's a great character. And I like her...
Her confidence in knowing Russian, though, even though she spoke languages that had nothing to do with Russian. They're all Romance languages.
Also, she's like, I'm a musician. I play in band. But she didn't notice the music in the background of that audio tape.
Let's ask Ryan. Ryan, as a musician, do you think you can teach yourself Russian?
Should we get my in-laws on the phone?
I do think there's a link between being good at languages and music.
Okay.
It's having good ears. It's having like a certain kind of ear. I speak French a little bit, and I used to speak it a lot. I speak, and I know a little bit of Russian actually. I can kind of follow the Russian characters a little bit with what they're saying sometimes. Like not
awesome.
I wouldn't have been able to like
Becky's in-laws.
I wouldn't have been able to decipher that tape or whatever, or the signal. Yeah, there's a relation there. I buy that.
Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. We have an expert who has spoken. All right, so your MVP is Robin, Lily. Who's your LVP? Who's your LVP?
Mike and Billy. Ugh, they're so annoying.
Mike?
Mike
is sort of like I always say this every time we talk Stranger Things. I love him, but I'm also like he's like the character I'm most mad about. Like I love him. He's great. He's a hero. He really brings it in season 2.
He's so loyal.
But I'm like least interested when he's on screen, so I have to choose him.
He's such a goonie. I'm sorry. Like he's really.
Sure. But Billy also, that mustache, I cannot deal with it. The mullet I can take, but that mustache, no. And then most improved is obviously Steve. He's found money on this show.
Season to season, just gonna.
Yeah, it's probably weird to go back and watch season 1 when he was just such a jerk.
Right.
Yeah, it's like
And I wonder if he was always meant to evolve, or the actor.
No, he was supposed to die. He was supposed to die.
Oh.
And this is something that
That's
I
awesome.
talk about with Lanz. Lanz, for your information, Ryan, is a co-host of another podcast that we're on, and a dear friend of ours. Lanz from the Goldnerds. Lanz always talks about how you have to let a show evolve. You can't predetermine everything. And this is an example where, like, Steve caught on, there's like a wave to catch and an evolution, and they let the character live as if he's real, as opposed to be like, Steve is supposed to be X and we're going to bring him from X to Y no matter what other chemistry happens. And that's the reason why he's a fan favorite.
Yep, because it's very organic.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, Beck. MVP,
Okay, so
LVP, MIP.
my MVP is it's still Elle. She's still, for me, the main anchor of the show. She's still the main reason why I'm interested in the story, is like her journey. I still think watching her character evolve is the most interesting as far as character development for me. My LVP is right now, I mean, keep in mind I'm only up to episode 4, but as of episode 4, Jonathan Byers, like, so far he's an LVP. Like, I don't know what he's bringing to the table.
That's actually a
like,
really good
Nancy
point. More
at
than
least is investigating something, has a purpose, is trying to do something. He's just catching all the time. He just, so
he needs
maybe
to get out more. He's so pale.
So pale. So maybe he'll bring it around at some point. But
also, they're a couple in real life. I feel like there's zero chemistry on the screen.
Yeah.
So I'm nervous for that.
I feel like if they both ate a few burgers, it might be better. There's a full
I think Jonathan Byers was
disagree.
supposed to be your hero, and then Steve ended up being the hero.
I guess.
Now, what kind of message does that send kids, that the cool guy?
I liked Jonathan in the first season. I don't think I don't like him. I just don't know, like, as of episode 4, he's not bringing a lot of value. And while I do agree with you that, I mean, for me, Steve is on another level, of course, but he improved so much last season, so I'm tabling that. I'm going to throw in a real unexpected one here. Right now, episode 4, Billy is my most improved player.
Oh, you totally. I'm not gonna say it. I have another most improved.
Yes.
So you go for it, because he was gonna be my other.
He went from last season to being a bully that I never understood the purpose of any of his scenes. I didn't really get why he was there. And now, first of all, there's a purpose to his character because he's been infected. One, it makes him so much more interesting, and I find his performance to be less disgusting and to be actually just more compelling to watch.
Don't you also feel like now if he dies, nobody's going to care? Because he's so mean and awful?
No, because there's more to him.
There's more to him. When he's begging to Max and he's like, I swear I didn't want to do this. I didn't mean to do this. He made me do it. Like, that's like a real intense, pathetic moment where she's seeing a side of her brother she didn't know existed. Yeah.
I think the actor whose name
is great
is take a character that I just couldn't watch because he was so gross and made him really compelling.
And there's purpose to him.
His name is Dacre Montgomery. I guess that's how you say it, Dacre.
Dacre.
But we're not saying like you necessarily like the character. It's saying right.
Just improve.
So MVP, I would say some of the ones that have been mentioned, like Robin. I find myself really drawn to some of the new characters.
Great.
On this season, more than some of the ones that we have come to know.
Agreed.
But I do think 11 has been really compelling as usual. She's kind of like the force that keeps me watching, like you said. I know we're going to talk about this a little bit more in a second, but I'll throw out one thing that hasn't been talked about yet and I didn't even recognize him until I read the show notes. Carrie Elwes as the mayor is fantastic.
Yes.
And he's like a sleazebag mayor, like he's not like a likable character, but Carrie Elwes it's always cool to see him. And he's fantastic.
I thought they could.
Did you ever watch Psych?
Themselves from Matthew Modine last season.
Yes,
first season. I was like, how could you do better than Matthew Modine? And then they did Sean Astin, and now I'm like, Carrie Elwes, like.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Psych?
I have not seen Psych.
Okay, because Psych, he plays a recurring character called this international man of mystery thief character that is one of my favorite. That rivals his Wesley from Princess Bride character, Despero.
That's
So
a bit
Yeah.
extreme.
I know you guys are not that big into horror in general. I'm a big horror guy.
Lily watches
watch it a lot,
Lily watches
even
an
though I'm not
insane amount of
into it.
horror.
Okay, cool. Like I think the last time I remember seeing Cariel was in something was
Saw?
the first Saw. Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you seen
Which is a great movie. I mean, that series goes off the rails real quick, but that
It does,
original
but
one
that
is
first
great.
one is, yeah.
Yeah.
Lily, so of the three of us, Lily has seen the most horror movies. I research and watch documentaries about them. Like I'll read all the
Right.
Wikipedia pages and I'll watch the documentaries about them, but I can't watch them.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
Becky doesn't go.
I'm not even in this conversation.
Becky
I'm
doesn't partake.
like, no.
So as a horror expert, Ryan. Oh wait, sorry. You have your MVPs.
So, yeah, and
I
I
want to
wanna
ask
know
you a
that-
horror question.
Yeah, I'm a horror fan. I don't know how much of an expert I am, but yeah,
That
at
makes
least
you an expert for this podcast.
okay. Least valuable. I'm gonna go along with what I was just saying. I mean, there some of the I gotta go probably either like Nancy or Joyce. Some of these characters that were really dynamic and really moved things along and were powerful in their earlier seasons don't seem to have a lot to do in this season, other than
I
kind
feel
of.
like Joyce is figuring out the whole magnet thing. She got Hopper all riled up.
Yeah, I just
but I see what Ryan.
I just see a lot. There's a lot of
It's
scenes of her
repetitive.
just kind of like,
Close to my husband, I was watching with my husband, and he's like, "Why is she so nervous? You know, a writer like that?
Because her
Is she acting?"
because her kids
And I
keep
was like,
getting
actually-
kidnapped by mentors.
But I said to him, I was like, either she's that good an actress and she's acting, I was like, or maybe she's just like that in real life.
I feel like since Will's monster kidnapping and then body invasion, she's really has her radar up.
I'm with Becky, and I'll come to her in a second.
She
All right, so
doesn't trust anything.
who's your most improved, Ryan?
most improved. Again, I agree with everything that's been said. I'll bring up something that hasn't been mentioned yet. Is Erica. Like she is so. I think she's in like one scene in the first season.
Oh really? I didn't
Right?
even know she was in the
maybe
previous.
She's in the first season. She's in the first season.
she pops up like
She
in a
pops
scene
up
or two,
like
but
3 or 4 times, but just like quickly, like she's always yelling at her brother. That's their shit.
Yeah.
Erica's in it from the beginning.
Yeah.
but she
They're
is
just
not like
always arguing
always
with
in
each
it.
other, and she's
They're-
super feisty.
yeah, but she has a much bigger
Oh yeah.
role, and
Yeah.
especially as the season goes along, she has a lot more screen time. She's really funny. Like
I feel like that also happened organically because I feel like they had this cute little kid playing
Right.
the sister that was like bratty, and the actress is excellent. And
I don't think she was
but, like,
intended
a
to be a
great
big
part
character
that
from the
kinda
beginning,
happened.
for sure. Yeah. Also,
Yeah, she's a breakout performance.
I want to say that their Lucas and Erica's parents are shown in one of the episodes in the earlier season, and I'm pretty sure the dad was my RA in college. I see him in commercials. He's
No
in The
way.
Conjuring. Yeah, I see him in things here and there. He was
So funny.
studying acting in college, and now I always see him and stuff. But
where did you go to school?
NYU.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
as a
that
horror-
doesn't matter though.
Okay, so as
people.
a horror fan, I'm just gonna sort of like I'm gonna mix it up here a little bit. As a horror fan, okay, and I'll get to mine MVPs and stuff. So I feel like this season, Lily and Becky and I have sort of been discussing in general, like whether or not it's replaying certain things, certain horror tropes. I felt like last season really went hard on aliens. This season to me is actually more body horror. This season to me is more body horror, which is more like the first
Except
Alien.
the gigantic face huggers, sure.
but even that's kind of like body horror. Like it's less like things chasing them, and it's more like that insidious notion of who's good and who's bad, and what the effects of their bodies. Like
Isn't that like in The Thing? Are they all
yeah, it's a little bit like The Thing also, and I think that edge actually feels like it's like a new angle on the show for me, and I like this angle of it. Ryan, as a horror fan, do you feel that, or am I?
Yes, and not a spoiler, just a funny thing that happens. There's a great scene coming up with where I forget which kid it is who uses the original Thing and the John Carpenter remake Thing to analogize like his appreciation of new Coke versus classic Coke, which is just one of those really 80s
moments.
You know, like, new Coke. That show is so good at.
But that's a great nod then, because that's a great nod to The Thing playing in the show without being like, without overly hitting it on the nose. Okay, cool. As long as they're recognizing it. And what do you guys think? The show kind of like runs the fine line between meta nostalgia bits and being an awesome show. And sometimes I feel like it trips into nostalgia bits, and it's almost like it's like a little bit almost too much of like a Family Guy episode, and sometimes it's like actually its own original horror creation. Does anyone else feel like it goes back and forth there?
I feel this season, at least the first, at least like 3 episodes, to me, were a little too far on that side of just like all the 80s references, all the songs that play. Every 30 seconds there's another song that you recognize. And it's cool, and it's kind of part of the show's appeal. It does calm down a little bit as the season goes on. I think they rely on that a little bit too much in the first few episodes.
You know what that feels like to me? It feels to me like everyone, all the department heads working on the show, costume sets, props, music supervisor, they're all just like really enthusiastic and trying to impress the showrunner by busting out the big guns.
Yeah.
And the showrunners are really excited, like, yeah, that's right on the nose, that's great. And then after a few episodes, they're like, oh wait, they're like, they have like the showrunners are like a little bit more organized. They're like, okay, no, we got to just start making like actual choices and not just letting them bombard us. That's to
I
me
love
what
when we imagine what's going on in writers' rooms.
Yeah, but I think Becky has the context for this. She's actually worked in that area, so I actually, this is a music question. To me, I look at how many songs they've used in one episode.
Yeah,
I'm like, the budget for songs is insane.
How do they have the rights for all that music?
And it's almost
I feel like Netflix
unnecessary.
Budgets, they're just spend money.
That may be why there's more songs like that in this season, because they have the budget for it now. But
yeah.
I mean, the budget seems bigger for this season overall. The effects are more intense.
It's like the whole building of like the mall, like all of that set decorating, putting together an 80s mall. It's intense.
Oh yeah,
all those extras, like all the amount of people to show you how, when malls were invented, how they were crowded and everything.
Yeah,
you can feel all of that budget.
But I see all of that budget, and then at certain points when I look at like the money that went into turning on the Russian laser, right? Like what must have gone into, because that was a much more detailed machine than they've had in Stranger Things, as far as I remember, than that like goofy wall in the first, like when they made the Upside Down in the first season, and they're just like, there's black marks on the wall, so we're in the Upside Down. To me, I see that and I'm happy, but on the other hand, I know Netflix is cutting lots of shows, and I'm a little bit bummed. I'm like, oh great, so we got like an extra laser and a few extra songs and Stranger Things, but
which aren't necessary. None of that's necessary.
Right.
Anybody would have been happy with like a silly 80s looking laser. Like nobody needed an X-Men looking one.
I think the Stranger Things, if I were to rank it, is characters, then the and then the setting. Right, Beck? What was your?
I don't know. You want to just read my text?
No. That's exactly what I said in my text to you. You can go. You can say yours. To me, it's
basically what I was saying is that like the characters are the first reason why I watch it. The second is like the nostalgia, and then after that is like the plot, and then like the monsters for me. Like,
so for me, the nostalgia isn't a bit, because as much as I love nostalgia, like to me, the Goldbergs does the 80s. The Goldbergs does that better in my view anyway. But to me, it's the characters, and then the plot. Like, thank goodness they do all those exposition scenes where like Will starts explaining to you what the Mind Flayer is, because I didn't even remember how the second season unfolded plot-wise. I just remembered what happened to the characters. And
I obviously didn't remember. Jose was like, "What's that? What is he calling it?" And I was like, "Mind Slayer." That's what it is.
As soon as I fired up Stranger Things on my Netflix, they ran like a recap of season 2. Did you guys have that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I accidentally skipped over it.
Oh,
And I couldn't find it again.
Yeah.
I went deeper and looked at a 15-minute recap that the whole cast, except Millie Bobby Brown, narrates for you. Like, they each divided it up. They all had a script. It's very cute. It's 15 minutes.
Only watched a recap. I only watched a recap of Mike and Elle's love story. That was the only recap I watched going into this season.
I watched that and the 15-minute recap.
Shy needs to watch that. It would be good
I'll
for
send it to you. It's so heartwarming. It's so heartwarming.
It is.
Which heartwarming?
It's just a recap of Mike and Elle's love story. That's the whole recap. It's
Mike and Elle's love story. Like, I'm stressed about whether or not they because here's the thing. Elle is like beautiful superhuman.
I know that's
and
why everybody's
Mike,
so excited. Right, he's the
and Mike is the biggest nerd.
with the
such a nevish little nerd.
No, it's like
his
like
shorts get tighter.
No,
and smaller.
he's like the guy who offers. He's like the guy who offers. It's like when Ethan Embry wanted to walk Amanda. Raise his hand on the first day of Can't Hardly Wait, but instead it's Mike Dexter. Like, he's the guy who. That we're talking about Can't Hardly Wait here, but he's the guy who offered to walk the foreign girl around the school, and so she doesn't know any of the other guys, and so she falls in love with him, and he's not really like
it. Hopper you're in a cabin in the woods, so how is she going to meet anyone else?
Exactly.
But I do feel like they're connected on a deeper level because of,
Okay, can we just talk fashion montage? I want to know what Ryan thought of that.
You mean when they're when Elle goes shopping?
Yeah.
It was amusing. It was fine.
my wife said, Allie, she said, "Wow, they're doing it to Material Girl. That's so on the nose."
Oh, right.
Couldn't they have done better than that?
I think at that point I was just getting a little bit done with like I said, the 80s hit songs, every other
shoving
scene.
it in your face. It's the 80s.
But I'm not I'm not one of those people who's and I love horror, and I love how gory this season is and stuff, but I love the relationships. I love all that character building and relationship building. So yeah, I'm fine with this kind of thing. I think it goes on a little too long. I think it takes a little too long to get going for the most part. I think this season.
It takes up to episode 4, and when that came on, I think it's episode 2 or maybe 3. When that scene comes on, I was like, oh, I'll just watch this show instead of this fake horror show, because I'm like, this is fine. Let's just watch 90210 Stranger Things, and then it gets going in ep 4, and I'm like, okay, now, Shy and I were talking about this, that the whole drama between Will Mott, I don't know if they make a reference to him being gay, or just that he's not ready to
No, they say, if you liked girls, you would understand.
I'll tell you what I thought about that.
What?
I just kind of thought
I got cut off.
Oh, I'm sorry. No,
I missed because I got cut off, so I don't know with my internet, so I don't know. Yeah, I think that he, I see him as a little bit probably because he's so traumatized.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Just a little bit behind.
I think they were just saying he's a little bit behind the other guys.
Yeah. Right. And so when they get into that fight, I just feel so bad for him and them, because they were more, adjusted and didn't have that trauma and are moving on with their lives. And my husband turned to me and he's like, yeah, he's like, wow, it shines a light that that's the cusp of that age where some kids just aren't ready yet and they just want to play games forever, but then the other 13-year-olds are done and ready to move on. And he's like, I was not one of those. I was done and ready to move on. I was simmer down. I was like, we get it. You're Spanish. We understand. But it like broke my heart a little bit, and then I got nervous because I was like, oh, I don't want to watch a whole season of this.
Yeah.
And then right away they cut it off when they just sort of have to band together.
Well, they make it about something bigger, which is why the show is watchable ultimately.
So one thing I like that they've done with Will is that up until now, Elle's kind of the only superhuman, but Will now affirmatively has powers. He affirmatively has
he can
powers.
Sense the
mind flayer, and I think that's an added arsenal. He's able to detect the mind flayer, and she might be able to fight with him, but his connection is really valuable.
Two of them.
All right, so let me give you my MVPs. Okay, so my MVP, other than Mrs. Driscoll eating the fertilizer, which to me, like whoever that old lady is,
that's like
amazing.
special mention too.
That old lady is just incredible. When she's just like shoveling that in your mouth, it's terrifying. And she's probably like, Shakespearean trained, been acting for 60 years, and they're like, all right, we want you to just like eat garbage.
It's great.
And then rats
Maggie Miley is her name.
She's amazing. I love her. And Elle is always going to be my MVP because to me the show rotates, kind of around her, and Millie Bobby Brown as an actress is just on another level. But I'm going with Erica because Erica, to me, especially as the show gets on, is fun and powerful, and the new characters add a lot of great, like they can be good ingredients or bad ingredients. She's a great ingredient.
What a Lily move to like secretly name 3 MVPs before naming everyone.
That is such a Lily move.
I mean, everyone on the cast about how they're not my MVP, but I love them before I name.
So my LVP, I'm going hard on Nancy again. Like, they're not
the worst. I don't understand what she's in this show.
Nancy's character as a reporter, right? Her job is literally to investigate and tell you things about what's happening. They could have given any of the things she's doing, they could have given that to a fax. They could have just gotten a fax that said the information that she's learned.
It's not how the show works. The show is about pulling at multiple threads of the same fabric. So you're following 4 different storylines, and in the end, they all come together to solve the mystery. And if you don't have Nancy going down that path, then you're not getting all the fabric.
You could have given that path to Joyce and Hopper. It would be just as good. And so now this leads me to my most improved. I'm going to go with Joyce. I'm going to go with Winona Ryder, who I think is beyond annoying in that first season. Like, everyone made such a big deal about her. I found her so nervous and agitating, and now I feel like both the character, but also the way she's playing it, like she noticed she's got like makeup on, and she's more, she's less this traumatized person, and she's more like this motivator,
like in control. She's like, wait, I'm taking control of the situation.
But she also trusts herself more.
Yeah.
I also
she's like, no, you're wrong, I'm right.
Between her and Mrs. Will's
Wheeler.
Byers.
Yeah, like the contrast in those two moms.
No, not Byers. She's Joyce Byers.
Wheeler. Yeah. Karen Wheeler, but also a character I didn't even remember was in the show. Like,
I was like, she has an older sister.
She has so many lines.
Yeah, there's like a really kind of ridiculous. Well, maybe not ridiculous. I thought it was kind of that the storyline between her and Billy was kind of a thing that got kind of forced in at the end of season 2.
Yeah.
And
I need to bring it back out.
And I find that storyline so eye-rollingly absurd. And I kind of liked how things happened on season 3, but this thing, I don't know. I guess
I'm also like, okay, let them go have an affair. Her husband seems so boring. Fine, I don't care about either one of those people.
But also, why does Nancy's mom, I mean, again, I'm only at episode 4. I don't know how things evolve, but right now, every time she's in a scene, I'm like, how are you pushing this story forward? How are you adding? You're not contributing to this.
She's like, story. Nancy, one day you'll realize I stopped listening because I don't care. What, that whole scene between the two of them having a tea? It's like, what?
Yeah.
She basically was giving Nancy the confidence to go.
Maybe she's the LVP
investigate the story.
Yeah, like I said, that part of the story. All I'm saying is that Nancy, Mrs. Wheeler, and Jonathan are taking up valuable Steve and Erica time. and valuable Jake Busey time.
And valuable
And-
Mrs. Driscoll eating fertilizer time.
Now, Jake Busey, I feel like is a little bit underused. I love
No, he's so over the top. It's like he's acting in a melodrama, and everyone else is in this show.
I think they could have given Jake Busey a better
role. Yeah, I feel
So
like they could have
annoying.
given him a better role. He's just going to end up biting it.
Do you guys find the dynamic of how the guys at the newspaper act toward Nancy like a little over the top, or is that just like me being a naive dude?
I think it's you being naive.
Okay,
Yeah,
fair.
I'm pretty sure that's how
I'm pretty sure that's
it
accurate.
and continues to be.
I asked myself that question as well, and then I was like, no, and I thought about it, and I'm like, no, 1980s newsroom in some small town.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, yeah, they're.
But you do think Jake Busey's over the top?
I think the performance is over the top.
Yeah.
And the amount of insults, but they're disregarding her and they're dismissing her. I think
It's being shitty to her on purpose.
It's like that it's like the caricature nature of the show that sometimes they fall into this like loop of just doing caricatures of actual things from the 80s, and although I'm sure it's accurate, the acting, the performances in those scenes and the writing in those scenes does feel like it's exaggerated to make sure we really understand, you know, how abusive. But it probably is accurate.
But a lot of that does feel to me like how 80s movies feel.
Right.
And there's like
That's true. If you think of like 9 to 5.
I was about to say 9 to 5 is a perfect example where the entire movie is that scene. It's basically the movie.
And what's the other one I love? Working Girl. Oh,
Working Girl.
I was going to say with
Working Girl.
Melanie Griffith. Yeah. Harrison Ford. That movie's so good.
That movie is so good. It's still good. Have you watched it recently?
Yeah. Have you watched? It's what's his name? Is the bad guy?
I don't know, but I know it's Harrison Ford and.
No, it's Harrison Ford. No, not in Working Girl.
Sigourney Weaver's the bad guy.
Sigourney Weaver.
9 to 5, it's Dabney Coleman.
Dabney Coleman, that's it, yeah. But can we talk for just 2 seconds, Shai, before you lead us on to something else? How are you guys feeling about Hopper? I'm like, geez, get it together.
Go.
He's overacting too. Like he needs to reel it in.
I mean, I love to me, everything they did with him.
He's starting to make me not like him. So
everything they did with him was you know what I think? I think they were like, let's have Hopper dressed like Magnum PI in this season, and think Magnum PI is really cool.
And they work backwards.
And they work backwards from it. That's what I think.
What's interesting is that you sort of kind of like I sort of thought that him adopting Elle would be his redemption story, but he's still like a drunk mess.
yes.
You know.
But now he just needs to be with Joyce to feel better. I don't know.
But I do enjoy, like, I want a montage of how many times they put him in a towel in this season. Like
what is going on? I mean, I just like his whole being stood up. Okay, he gets stood up, but like how much that plays into the rest of that episode, it's just a bit. And like his stuff with Mike and Elle is cute.
Like I said, they were like, let's give Hopper a mustache and a Hawaiian shirt and have him watch Magnum and want to be like Magnum. And then they came up with everything else.
You know, I'm going to file Hopper, again, under characters that are just not as interesting this season. Like,
right.
A lot of the, like, anchor characters from previous seasons, I think, are sort of, like, making way for some of these new characters. That we keep, you know, that we've really been talking about.
I hope he evolves. I'm only on episode 4, and I'm going to hope that they give him.
That is a good jumping off point for predictions. Now, Ryan, have you watched the whole season?
I have 1 episode to go. I had hoped to be done before this, but
no, don't worry. We're only at episode 4.
I had a show. You know, we played last night, and I just didn't have 2 episodes in me in terms of the. I went the nap direction, so.
You weren't like, guys, wait, in the green room, we got to watch this last episode of Stranger Things.
In the green room, I'm like, hey, how far are you guys on Stranger Things? And everyone's like, oh, I haven't seen it yet. And then I taught Justin's daughter a piano lesson the other day. And, of course, like, she's done with it. the day it comes out because she's a kid and it's summertime. And
It's amazing.
I had to like yell at her to not spoil it for me because I was like, I'm only halfway through, and she said a thing that wasn't totally spoily, but it was I would rather her have not said it to me. So I had to give her a piano lesson and the discussion about
Spoilers.
when someone is only halfway through something that you're finished with, just don't say anything.
Oh my
Yeah,
God, it's
just
something
say-
that we're going to have to educate an entire generation.
I know.
Because they get
Well-
everything the same day it comes out and don't
Right.
realize it. Not
So
everybody wants to watch
entitled.
13 episodes in one night.
Right,
I always tell my kids, I'm like, whenever they're like misbehaving, I'm like, in the old days, we had to watch with commercials, and everyone had to watch it at the same time when it came on.
And if you missed it, you better just hope they show it in the summertime again.
Oh yeah,
Missed
exactly.
it.
Or like one of your friends had it on like VHS taped it.
Right.
Who taped it? Who taped that Seinfeld
Taped
finale?
it. I remember that freaking out, but who taped it? So you
Yeah.
can see it next week.
Okay, so let's quickly then go with some predictions, and then we'll get to our Rex and shoutouts and wrap up. Lily, one prediction, and it can be any random prediction.
I guess that Hop and Joyce are gonna get together eventually, for God's sakes. I mean, that's the only thing. Like, I hope so. So he can just. I want to see him happy. So I'm hoping, and I can't wait for Robin and Steve to get together. I'm shipping them.
I want Robin and Dustin to get together. I'm unclear as to what her age is.
Inappropriate.
She's like 5 years older than him.
I don't know what her
13,
age is.
She must be
I
like
don't know.
17 or 18.
She looked like she was checking out his buns when they were shoving him into the elevator.
I think she's the same age as Steve, right? They're the same year in
No,
school.
she's younger than Steve.
They
She's
talk
still
about
in high school.
Okay. Well,
Steve is like, no, I can't date her. She's still in high school. She's not
Okay.
cool.
Well, they talk about being in a class together or something, but like again, I guess he repeated some years
I
or
think
something.
he repeated,
Okay.
yeah.
I predict that a lot of people are gonna die.
Yeah, because
I think a lot of people are gonna
I think you make a good point, because when they didn't kill Steve last year, when he didn't die, and now he's not going to die, although Ryan can't ruin anything. Like they've got to.
I haven't seen the last one. I have no idea.
They've got to slaughter some people.
But like,
because they've
I
got
don't
to
think
make
it's gonna be main. I don't think like main characters. I just think like a whole bunch of townspeople are gonna die. Like everyone who's been invaded with a body. Like every guy in the newsroom.
Oh, yeah, those aren't.
Like Nancy and Jonathan are gonna have to take over because everyone in the news will be dead.
I'm going to go with a very subtle prediction that maybe doesn't even bear out in this season directly. But that Russian guy who beat up Hopper and who has like an inordinate amount of control, who like strength, and he like choked that guy?
Oh, yeah, you told me this.
I think we're going to find out that Elle and her powers have something like those other X-Men characters they introduced last season.
Tell me they bring those guys back. I cannot believe we're going to go through this whole season without seeing those people.
I think people had a mixed reaction to those guys.
The reaction being,
What a
unless they have
waste.
a purpose, why did you show them to me? So you better bring them back this season.
So
Ryan, Ryan's struggling with the spoilers. He's like, should I say something? Should I not say
No, I'm struggling because I very much disliked that episode last.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Terrible. I hated that episode.
Yeah, it was. I just thought it was. I thought it was very poorly executed, but I'm on board with the like concept.
Interesting.
I would have liked.
Were you
I would have liked
upset
to.
that they're like criminals, or just upset the way the whole thing was?
No,
played
I just thought making it its own episode that to me seemed like a different show. Kind of took. I appreciated that it was kind of like a choice, but I didn't really like that. The choice didn't work for me to make that its own episode. I didn't think the writing on that episode seemed as strong as the rest of the series. And there's an episode this season, and I don't know a lot about how writers' rooms work and stuff like that. There's an episode on this season coming up that I thought seemed a lot less well written than the others, but it was more just the execution of the than the concept. I like the concept of her finding other people that she can relate to in that way. I wish it had been more like woven in last season.
I don't know. For some reason, I think that that's sort of like they're saving that, and in some ways, like they can't keep doing the horror. I mean, maybe they can, but the Mind Flayer. I think the Mind Flayer has to end this season, and they have to do something else with what these guys are investigating, and I think Elle and her powers, and to me, the Russians are going to play into it, because that guy has a weird amount of strength. So I think that he might be a superhuman, too. That's just, again, a little bit of an odd prediction, but hey. Okay. Now let's, Ryan, it's hard for us to ask you to do a prediction, but do you have a specific, like, big picture prediction for Stranger Things?
I think the 11 hanging out with other people who are like her thing is going to be like a spin-off at some point.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because there's only 5 seasons. That's exactly what I was going to say. There's only 5 seasons of the show. There's only going to be 5.
Oh, is that what they said?
Yeah, that's what they said.
Okay.
They said that they signed up
feels
for
appropriate.
5.
At number 3, I feel like 2 more would be plenty.
Like the Duffer Brothers said that it's going to be 5.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that like Joni Loves Chachi episode is clearly like a signal that that's going to be a spin-off.
I think it's going to be its own
about
thing.
that episode. It's just sort of like a one spin-off episode that's like a tester, and then that's going to end up being a new show.
Okay. Cool.
That's also what I thought.
All right, let's turn to some quick recs and some shout-outs. Lily, got any recs or shout-outs?
Recs, I can't rec Billions enough. I don't know why somebody would watch it if they weren't interested in Wall Street, because it seems so boring, but it's fantastic. That show is so good, and the acting's amazing. When we at some point we're gonna have to break it down, Shine, another episode of this podcast.
Can I just not be available that week?
You could not be. No, just for like 10 minutes.
We can do a
mini podcast without me.
We can do a mini app on Billions.
Yeah.
We can just do like a Billions mini.
But I had a really funny Billions type interaction recently that I have to save that nugget for another episode. And I'm really excited that you guys, I don't know if Shine, Becky have been following my watching of these stupid teen romantic comedies on Netflix. So they keep turning out with the same one actor, that same guy as...
Do you think he just shot all the scenes in one afternoon, and then they just...
It seems like Lord of the Rings. Like they shot all of his teen movies at the same time. So I'm very much looking forward to that schlock fest on Netflix. I can't avoid it. I have to see all those movies. And I have to shout out to Lanz, who I was texting with as I'm closely following her exploits in Mexico.
Hawaii. I thought she was in Hawaii.
I think she's in Mexico. I don't think she's in Hawaii. I guess we'll have to agree to disagree.
I don't know where she is.
But yeah, we've been texting each other like BFFs who've never met.
I feel like you're trying to show off there, but that's okay. Why don't you go to LA and hang out with her? Oh no, wait, Shine, I did that.
Exactly. Okay. So I'm just saying that shout out to Lanz, who I love, and hello to
Becky.
No Rex, because I've just been watching Stranger Things, and I want to shout out to cousin Vanessa, who kicked off season 3 with me on
out of a wreck. That was stupid.
The other night, on Thursday night, I think. And then a shout out to my friend Becca for making an ice cream recommendation that I'm very excited to check out. So thanks, Becca.
Are you gonna tell anybody what that is? You're just gonna keep it to yourself. You're just like, I gotta
crowds. I don't like crowds.
She's keeping it for herself. But Beck, I assume you'd also wreck Big Little Lies, which
I haven't started it yet. We haven't started it yet.
I watched 2 episodes. Loving it.
Apparently Cheese Board Pizza, which if you live in the Bay Area is very famous. They've started doing soft serve, and I'm very excited to check it out. Apparently it is on another level. So
I gotta tell you, I do not like suburban Missouri shows, so I have no interest in.
I was gonna be like, I don't like soft serve.
So, okay, well, we can all agree to disagree here.
Well, all right, we've all got an opinion. Ryan, how about you? Recommendations, shout-outs?
Yeah, I'm going to recommend the movie Us. Just came out, I think, on Blu-ray.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
I'm being peer pressured to watch it every single night of my life, and I find, women get used to get out of sex. I'll be like, I have a headache. I can't watch Us. Sorry. That's like me, my husband being like, let's watch a scary movie, and I'm like, oh damn it, I have my period, I can't.
It is.
I just say whatever I have to.
I saw it 3 times in the theater.
Holy
wow.
shit!
Whoa!
Yeah, because I just couldn't stop thinking about it, and I wanted to go back and see like.
That is a huge endorsement, friend.
Yeah. And I just like ordered the Blu-ray. It is. I don't know if you've seen Get Out.
Yeah.
Get Out
I love Get Out.
Yeah, I mean Get Out is like one of the closest things to a perfect movie I've seen in a while. Us is kind of like a little bit more of a mess in a way, but
it is a bit messier.
There's so much going on to think about and chew on. It is such a gauntlet of a current like horror movie.
I really want to see it.
So great.
It seems more bloody.
It is bloodier, gorier, more horror, everything than Get Out for sure. Yeah. And I'll do a music recommendation. I'm loving the new Raconteurs album. They're playing the anthem here in the DC area in the fall, I think.
And Tours?
No, Raconteurs. You grew up in a French city.
Raconteurs.
I can't
You know
hear
them.
very well.
Sorry.
Les raconteurs. Les raconteurs.
I got it.
Yeah, I'm always down to check out what Jack White's doing. He's like a rock star for our generation, and in the sort of old school rock star way. There's a frontman for you.
I don't like him.
Well, listeners.
But I feel like
Since
you
it's
don't
my
like
turn right now.
music, you just don't like him.
Ryan has understood how this works. He's reminding you it's his turn, Becky.
Yeah, I like that record a lot. I've been listening to that a lot. It's hard for me to like find a lot of time to listen to other stuff, but.
Cool. Well, I am. I'll recommend a shout out. Hey, I am deep into Beanstalk Library. We did it.
Oh, cool.
It was fun to talk to Ryan about that earlier. I actually blasted it while on the beach today. While I was reading the original Neil Gaiman's Sandman graphic novels, which I have not read. And I heard Netflix is going to do a show, so I've always meant to read it, and I started reading it while blasting Beanstalk Library, and now I am in the 5th or 6th chapter of the first volume, and I am deep in it. It took me a couple episodes to be like, what is this? And now I'm all in. It's amazing. And
we wrote all of our music intended to be a soundtrack for Sandman, so I'm so happy that someone finally figured that out.
It's the dark side of the moon. And while I was sitting in the sand. And then I saw Toy Story 4, and it's the Last Jedi of Toy Story movies.
Agreed.
It's kind of odd. It doesn't leaves you with a lot of questions as to why was it made the way it was made, and it kind of betrays certain elements of the story. However, it's still Pixar, so it still has moments of total genius and brilliance in it, and I do recommend watching it. But there's a part that will scare most kids, which they have these evil dummies. I thought the evil dummies were freaking brilliant and hilarious, and one of the best things I've seen in a Toy Story movie. Aside from that, I did not enjoy Toy Story 4, but my elder daughter loved it. It was her favorite of the movie. So I, it's a kids movie. I can't my whole issues with the canon of Toy Story should not be the reason why people see or don't see Toy Story 4. Okay, with that, Ryan, where can people follow you?
The beanstalklibrary.com is our website. It has a bunch of music on it. It has all the stuff that you need to know about. We're on all the social medias, or all the ones I think that I know about.
Aren't you? And you're on social media.
We're not on TikTok yet, or whatever that is, but whatever the kids are doing now. But yeah, I'm at Ryan Beanstalk on Instagram, and the band is on a bunch of stuff. You can just search for it. Beanstalk LIB on Twitter, and I think the other one's just the full band name.
Awesome. Yeah. Becky, where can people follow you?
At Paper BK Princess on Twitter.
And Lil?
I'm not embarrassed by mine. I don't have a problem saying it. It's not a big deal.
Say it really slowly so everyone
when we have a guest who, out of context, won't understand it, and whatever. It's Chi-Chi, CHI, Go K. Chichi K. Gomez. Gomez like Gomez Adams from the Addams Family.
Or Gomez like your last name.
Or Gomez like my husband's last name. It's not my last name. Like I've said many times before, I would not change my name to that. Sorry. Sticking with Corman. But my alter ego is Chichi K. Gomez on the Twitter.
And you can follow me at Pancake4Table. That's pancake and the number 4 table. On Instagram and Twitter, you can follow all of Friday Night Movie at Fry Night Movie on Instagram and Twitter, or FridayNightMoviePod.com. And if you want a little extra dose of me, there's 2 ways you can listen. One is the Goldnerds podcast, as we mentioned last time, interviewed Sean Giambrone, the lead actor who plays Adam on the show. And that was just an amazing 100+ minutes of fun with just a wonderful person, Sean, who gave us all sorts of great insights and behind the scenes stuff, and you're just a fun guest and a good person. And then you can also, I don't know when this is going to come out, but I always recommend my buddies, or our buddies at the Take Two podcast. They have a phone message line, and I left them like a very lengthy phone message that I really hope they will play on the air. It's like a 5-minute monologue responding to a bunch of their different episodes. So to Brian and Tony and Craig and John and the rest of the Take Two guys, thank you for hosting me, even if I haven't been an actual guest on the show yet. And with that, the music of What Does It Eat will kick in, and we'll dance off into the night, and catch you later. Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.
Lily, you haven't insulted any of Ryan's heroes yet. Becky and I have. Does someone else want to?
Do you have anything you want to?
No, we both love Wilco, and we're cool with each other and on the same wavelength.